of Thames Center's regularly scheduled meeting for Monday, December 12th. Call the meeting to order at 1:01 p.m. And at this point, I'd like to know if there are any additions to the agenda.
There are no additions.
Okay. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? I actually wish to declare that I have a pecuniary interest and have signed my declaration with regard to agenda item 13.3, that being bylaw number 95-2022, being a law to accept and assume ownership of works in registered plan 33M-712 Byron Avenue subdivision, as I am a partner and principal in the corporation. So, any announcements? Okay. Mr. Henry.
No announcements? Thank you, Your Worship. So we're just going to take a little bit of a pause here as I can look around. There's a lot of faces in the room, some of you staff, some of you not. So I'm just going to give a broad overview of what's going on, but staff that are here before you depart today after we do our presentation is just hang back until I can get you to stand. We're going to give you a brief little intro. The new council that's sitting here can then put in a face to a name because they have seen your name but not your face. And we'll let you get going after that. You certainly don't have to stay for the whole thing unless you really want to. So it is my pleasure to give a little bit of an intro here. I think it's quite fitting. I'd come to know Jared. And this, yes, Jared, it is you. I've come to know Jared over the past 7 years and certainly have seen him in a lot of various roles within the municipality, and that extension doesn't actually start and stop with my time here. Before that, Jared's worked in environmental services. He's worked in transportation. I'm to the understanding he has the ability to drive a plow or hit something with a plow. I don't know, but Jared's been with us a long time. And I think it's very important to note that the industry as a whole is starting to see a lot of people move into retirement. Some of them leave or some of them steward, they just keep coming back. But but I do know firsthand with the loss of senior staff within the organization, it is very difficult to replace that knowledge and replace that intimate understanding of our communities and all the little intricacies that come with that. So there's great value in somebody that has been with us, and in this case, 25 years. So I think a round of applause is due for Jared, and it's 25 years. I think I don't need to do anything more other than thank you, Jared, and thanks for your time. And I know that everybody does, and I know what value you bring to us. And I'm going to let the mayor take it from here with the presentation and the photos and all that good stuff. So thank you. So I'll be really quick, and we'll get everybody. Who wants to leave first? Show of hands. Okay, so Tammy Hunter. Tammy Hunter's working on payroll, so we got to get rid of her. So Tammy is our resident payroll expert and our human resources person that she's been bridging into sort of that role with us over the last little while. So look to see her in the future. She's got some big projects on the go right now as far as some electronic versions of that payroll, among other things. And she's with us here every day if anybody's looking for her, but right now we'll let you get back at it, Tammy. So that's Tammy Hunter, everyone. Oh, Diane wants to leave too. So Diane Gallinger is our deputy treasurer, and she works closely, of course, with Kim and in finance. And if you've got any tax related questions, Diane is your person. And I'm sure you'll be thankful to hear that. So we'll give you her extension later. So, okay. Oh, so Jeff's up, Kevin. So Jeff's in our water department and been with us for quite some time as well. So he's out there, and if you see him out in the community, he's either drilling a hole in the bridge, as I've seen him do that once or twice, and checking a hydrant or checking your meters. Jeff's in our water department within the organization. Kevin, I can help you out now. So Kevin is our supervisor of said environmental services and water department, and looks after everything water and everything landfill as well too. So he took over for Jared and when Jared moved into the public works director role, and is a success story from us being able to move somebody into a role internally and keep some of those years working for the organization. So thanks, Kevin. I like that you're exiting, so then it makes it easier on me. Okay, so Sherry, I'd let Sherry go. So Sherry takes care of everything water from a administration standpoint. So if you have any questions in that regard, that's your person. So Sherry Ridsdale, and she is here Monday through Friday, and she's in the bullpen kind of area behind the counter when you come into the office, and you can see her right from the counter. Right? Thanks, Sherry. Okay, Megan, how are you? Okay, this is Megan Fletcher. Megan started with us in the Parks and Rec area, community services as a rink attendant. Correct me if I'm wrong, Megan, right? So again, another success story. Megan went off to school, but stayed with us and then moved into our GIS department. And now she handles GIS as a whole across several departments, but primarily for public works, and is taking care of admin work for public works as well, as they need some help in the admin area. So thanks, Megan. I'll make you wait. So Trevor, how you doing? We're going to go through more of the water guys. Ethan. Okay, haven't actually met Ethan yet. So we're going to go through that. And who else am I missing here? Oh, yes. Okay, more new people. So anyway, more of the water guys within the organization. Again, same thing as what Jeff does. And you have any questions for them? And they're flushing a hydrant. They're going to start showing up here at the 9 o'clock Tuesday morning post council recap that we're going back to. So they'll have all the questions regarding council meetings when you see them out there on the streets. Jake McKillop is our road superintendent. Jake's getting into his busy season. Well, not yet. Soon, very soon. So if you have any questions regarding roads, anything in respect to anything related to roads, Jake will be happy to help you out there. So wave, Jake, so everybody knows which one you are, because you'll probably just keep staying here. All right. Okay. See you, Jake. All right. This is Tanner. Tanner is our in-house engineer tech. So he has been a great complement to the Public Works Department, and certainly a big help across environmental services as well, and to Jared as a whole. So thank you, Tanner. Appreciate you hanging around. So Scott, our newspaper reporter, he doesn't work for us, but that's thought we would go there. Council, you know all the directors and everybody here, so we've all done intro with them, but of course you've got Kim, director of finance, Mark with our director of planning and development, Steve is our director of community services and facilities, and of course Jared, who has a nice card and 25 years under his belt, is our public works director and formerly across many departments. Mauro Castrilli. Mauro is our building inspector and bylaw officer for the time, and he has come to us for many years. Mauro used to work in roads when he first joined us, and wanted to take his career in a different direction, and his demeanor and interaction with the public fit perfectly for us at the time, so we moved him across, and then we went and found Jake. So this is Mauro's been with us for 6 years now. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Travis was my first hire. Travis was is our drainage superintendent, and he was the first guy that I chased down when I first arrived in 2016, and convinced him to come across, and been with us ever since, and knows drainage like nobody else. And he's a great pride to us, because I deal with a lot of drainage people, or I have been, over certain CN matters that have been recently developing, and Travis certainly is to the forefront of all those, and first in my books and when it comes to stuff like that. So I think that's it for staff in here, other than Alan Bushel. Alan is in our clerk's department, of course, and handles some of the communications with us as well, and legislative items. Sarah, of course, is in the clerk's department as well, and acting clerk right now for Tina while she's been off, and Tina's not here, and is a deputy clerk as well. And anything that's required as far as marriage licenses and anything legislative as well, that's the department you go to. So. Oh, and Tammy. So Tammy, I gotta go back here. Have you been 6 years as well, roughly?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 6 years for Tammy. Yeah, so Tammy came across and has done many roles with the municipality, but you usually see her probably in the public and special events, and handling us with some of the things that are going on in the community, like volunteer breakfast and Canada Day, and just organizing in general. So when you see us in a rather gathering, and it could be as simple as a ribbon cutting, right through to something larger, Tammy's usually involved, but Tammy handles all of our cemetery stuff. So anything that goes through as far as plot purchase, right through to coordinating all of those with our community services department. Tammy is the go-to in the organization for that, and she's quite active in that role. So I think, is anybody else out there before I look away from the door? Okay, so just a quick opportunity to give some names to faces, and if there's any questions further to that, council, I will certainly try to help. Okay.
Okay, we're ready to begin. So we will now move into committee of adjustment. The recommended motion is that all members of council be appointed to sit as committee of adjustment for the municipality of Thames Centre, and that Mayor McMillan be appointed chair of the committee of adjustment, and that the clerk and deputy clerks be appointed secretary treasurer and assistant secretary treasurer to the committee of adjustment. Recommending that council adjourn its regular I'm sorry. Committee of adjustment. All right. So we go into 6.2. Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Michelle Smybert, seconder. Councillor Chantal Crockett. Bear with me, people. I'm new to the job. And all in favor? Lost my train of thought. All right. Now the second motion, that council adjourn its regular meeting in order to convene as committee of adjustments. So I'll move her for that. Councillor Heeman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Michelle Smybert. All right. First item on the agenda, 6.2, minor variance application A10-22, William James Blaney and Edith Elaine Blaney applicant, Brothers 3 Dorchester Inc., care of Gary Myers, agent, 4197 Catherine Street. Mr. Bancroft.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the purpose of this application, it's a minor variance request for relief from the Thames Centre Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw to recognize 2 existing accessory dwelling units, and also to permit 1 additional new accessory dwelling unit. Just in terms of background, the subject property, it's a commercial property located on the south side of Catherine Street in the Dorchester Commercial Core area. It's a 1/4 acre in size, and it contains a 2-story building. It accommodates an office commercial use on the first floor, which is the insurance office, along with an accessory dwelling unit at the rear of the building, also on the first floor, and also on the second floor, an accessory dwelling unit. So the applicant is seeking this approval to recognize the 2 existing accessory dwelling units, and also to permit the 1 additional unit above the first floor by converting the existing second floor into 2 units. Under the zoning bylaw, only 1 accessory dwelling unit is permitted. And also the gross floor area of an accessory building cannot exceed 50% of the floor area of the main building, excuse me. Whereas the total floor area of all accessory dwelling units would be 59.5% of the floor area of the main building. The existing commercial space located on the first floor is to remain unchanged. These lands are designated general commercial, as well as protection area under the official plan. They're also part of the core area within the general commercial designation. And similarly, the lands are zoned general commercial GC1, along with the back portion, environmental protection. With the environmental protection zone, also those lands are regulated by the Conservation Authority, given the steep slopes, considering the property backs onto the Thames River. I've connected my analysis, Your Worship, under section 3 of my report, which deals with the 4 tests under the Planning Act in terms of evaluating minor variance requests. So in all, I am satisfied that those 4 tests have been met, in that the effects of the variance can be considered minor in nature. Also, the variance is considered an appropriate use of the land, and the variance maintains the intent of the official plan along with maintaining the intent of the zoning bylaw. I should also point out, Your Worship, that there's a disconnect between the enabling policies found under the official plan compared to the regulations through the zoning bylaw, in that under the official plan, it encourages dwelling units above the ground floor of commercial uses, whereas zoning restricts it to a maximum of 1 accessory dwelling unit. So as part of the zoning bylaw review to be conducted next year, we will ensure that removal of the current restriction is considered. In terms of comments received during the circulation of the application, we have no objection from the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, no objection or no comment from our drainage superintendent. Our Director of Public Works notes that past history in the area have indicated copper service connections at or near end of life. There's a need to have the water service connection upgraded to ensure the proposed development can be adequately serviced. And then lastly, in terms of comments from the building division, our interim chief building official notes that residential units over commercial space require fire separations in nearly all cases. Also, exiting from the residential unit should be protected from non-residential portion of the building. If there's no building permit on file to support the existing dwelling units, a permit should be required as a condition of the variance, including an evaluation of the use by a qualified designer for building code compliance. In terms of public comments, no responses have been received, Your Worship, to date. So it is my recommendation, as outlined in my report, that variance application A10-22 be approved, subject to 2 conditions. The first condition being that the owner be required to obtain the necessary permits from the building division, including an evaluation of the existing dwelling units and proposed unit by a qualified person to ensure compliance with the Ontario Building Code. And then the second condition, Your Worship, that the existing water service line be upgraded to a 1-inch Municipex piping to the satisfaction of the building division and the Public Works Department. And also that the application be approved based on the reasons outlined in my report. That is my submission, Your Worship. I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bancroft. Is there, does the agent or the applicant wish to make any other comments or provide any? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment? And Mr. Bushel, do we have anybody online or anything?
No, your worship.
Okay, then. Any questions from council regarding the application? No. All right, then. So we have a motion before us. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Move the motion. Councillor Heeman,
I would make the motion with the accompanying recommendations.
thank you. And a seconder for the motion? Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on again now to minor variance application A 11-22, Helen Wilson and Paul Francis, applicant Helen Wilson, agent for the property 21878 Missouri Road, County Road 27. And again, Mr. Bancroft, please.
Thank you, your worship. So this application also seeks relief from the comprehensive zoning bylaw with respect to the minimum lot area, front yard depth and rear yard depth requirement for a proposed residential building lot. For background, the subject property, it's 0.3 acres in size, and it's located on the east side of Missouri Road, north of Elliott Trail in the village of Thorndale. It's used for residential purposes, therefore it contains a single detached dwelling along with a detached garage. And the dwelling is connected to municipal services, so municipal water and sanitary sewers. These lands are also subject to consent application B15-22 to sever a parcel, the north half of the property, to allow the creation of a residential infill building lot. That consent was conditionally granted by council on September 19th of this year and subject to a number of conditions. This minor variance approval is being requested to address conditions of consent regarding the lot area deficiencies of the lands to be conveyed and the lands to be retained. The applicant also advised that the county's land dedication requirement of 18 meters from the center line of the road as a condition of consent would limit the front yard depth of the property for a new dwelling. Therefore, reduced front yard and rear yard depths are also being requested. My report outlines the extent of the relief being sought. In terms of lot area, the requirement is 700 square meters, whereas 585 square meters is being requested. Front yard depth required is 7.5 meters, whereas 6 meters is being requested. And rear yard depth, 8 meters minimum, whereas 6 meters is being requested. And these lands are designated residential and also zoned R1. I've conducted my analysis, your worship, and I'm satisfied that the 4 tests under the Planning Act have been met as outlined in my report. In terms of circulation comments received from agencies, we have comments from the county engineer, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, our drainage superintendent, and our director of public works. All have no concerns or no objections. And in terms of public comments, we do have a written submission that was received, which is attached to the council agenda. That would be from John and Colleen Vanderplas, who are at 21870 Missouri Road, immediately south of the subject property. So they're concerned about the potential loss of property value if this development is permitted. I think it's important that council note that the Vanderplasses did not object to the consent application when it was heard this past September. So it is my recommendation, your worship, that minor variance application A 11-22 be approved, subject to the reasons outlined in my report. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this point, are there any additional comments from the applicant or the agent? Yes. No comments. Okay. Anyone else from the public who wishes to comment? And Mr. Bushel, anyone online?
No, your worship.
Okay, all right. Then we have a motion before us. Would someone like to move the motion? Or I'm sorry, let's back up. Any comments or questions from council before we proceed? Okay. Someone to move the motion then? Councillor Heeman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Smybert. All in favor? Okay. Motion carried. Thank you. So we will move on to item number 6.4, minor variance application A 12-22. Doug and Lori Granger, applicant, Stuart Finlater and Associates Inc. agent for the property at 2544 Dorchester Road. And again, Mr. Bancroft.
Thank you, your worship. So this is a minor variance application for relief from the comprehensive zoning bylaw as it relates to the maximum height requirement for an accessory building to allow the construction of a second-story addition. The subject property, it's a 2-acre residential lot, and it's located on the east side of Dorchester Road, just south of Boardwalk Way, here in the village of Dorchester. The lands contain a single detached dwelling along with 2 accessory buildings in the form of detached garages. The dwelling is serviced by municipal water along with a private septic system. The applicant's proposing a second-story addition with a total height of 10 meters, whereas the bylaw permits a maximum height of 5 meters. The accessory building would otherwise comply with all other zoning requirements. These lands are designated residential for the most part, except for the rear portion of the lands, which is designated protection area. Also, the lands are zoned residential first density with a holding provision R1-H-5, along with environmental protection. Although located in a wellhead protection area, which requires new development to connect to municipal wastewater services, the holding was inadvertently applied to the land, considering the existing dwelling and septic system predates source water protection requirements. Removal of the holding is being considered by council through passing of a zoning bylaw amendment towards the conclusion of this meeting. Also, the lands are regulated by the Conservation Authorities Act and are adjacent to a significant woodland. I've conducted my analysis, your worship. So I've examined the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I'm satisfied that all 4 tests have been met, and that I consider the impacts of the variance to be minor in nature. Also, that the variance is an appropriate use of the land. And lastly, that the variance maintains the intent of the official plan as well as the zoning bylaw. In terms of agency comments, no issues were identified in the circulation. And this has to do with responses received by the county engineer, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, our drainage superintendent, and also our director of public works. In terms of public comments, to date, no responses have been provided from the public. So it's my recommendation, your worship, that the application for minor variance A 12-22 be approved, subject to the reasons outlined in my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional information from either the agent or the applicant? Okay, and any questions from anyone present here in the chambers? No? Okay, and anyone online, Mr. Bushel?
No, your worship.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee members? I just have one minor one, Mr. Finlater. Yeah, are we talking about the building facing north of the property? Okay. To the road. Okay, then. All right, we have a motion before us. If, can we have someone who would propose? Deputy Mayor Smibert? Seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. All right. The motion before us now is that the Committee of Adjustment adjourn and council can reconvene its regular meeting. You want a time, Sarah? Would you like a time? At 1:31 p.m. Thank you. Oh, sorry. A mover for the motion, Deputy Mayor Smibert, seconder, Councillor Crockett. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, people. Okay. Now we will move into the consent agenda portion. So I think the way we're going to do this is the following. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may require discussion, but no action on the part of council. Consent items are received for information in one motion. Council members may request that one or more item be removed for further action. We'll break this down a wee bit. The recommended motion is that the minutes of the orientation meeting of council held on November 28th, 2022 be approved as circulated. And that in this particular case, consent items 7.2 to 7.20 be received as information. Do I have a mover for that? Yes. Oh, and that's right. Any points being pulled from this particular portion of the consent agenda? Deputy Mayor Smibert?
I would like to further discuss item 7.21 as it relates to the Oakwood Drive project.
Thank you. And Mr. Heeman, you had your.
Yes, I'd like to pull out item 7.14.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So may I have a mover for Councillor Heeman? Seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? Carried. Okay. So would you like us to speak to we'll go to resolution 7.13 then first, Mr. Heeman.
Yeah, through your worship, I think it would be appropriate to send a letter of support for this motion. I believe that we have faced this issue with unidentified medical grow-up licenses in the past. It becomes a problem for bylaw enforcement for the neighboring communities and for the OPP, whereas there's no communication from the federal government when licensing any of these medical greenhouse operations. So I think that it's something that continues to be a problem. We have the ability to regulate and zone recreational greenhouse facilities for cannabis production, but not for the medical licenses. And I think it's been an issue in the past, especially when you consider the odor and the nuisance. So I would motion that we send a letter of support along similar lines as Malahide's.
And no discussion? Someone to second the motion then, Councillor Lockie? All in favor? Okay, motion carried. Then Deputy Mayor Smybert will move on to 7.21.
Thank you, Mayor McMillan. I think it's important that we acknowledge the concerns of the residents along Oakwood Drive. And I think that Ms. Alexander's letter was well written in terms of the concerns faced by the residents. You know, we can't go back in time in terms of undoing maybe what's been done so far, but I think it's important, an important process to take a look at how maybe we could do things better in the future. So I did have a chance to talk to staff just last week about, you know, better engaging and better communication with residents, especially with a project of this magnitude. You know, given the fact that we're looking at inflation, a lot of maybe some extra costs that maybe you wouldn't have seen if this project had been done maybe, you know, 5 or 10 years ago. So I do have a resolution to be considered by the members of council, but I wanted before I do that, just to see if any other members of council had any other comments or concern before I place the motion on the floor.
Council, any comments? All right.
Yep, so I'll read my resolution. I have provided this to the clerk in advance of the meeting. So I move that staff be requested to review current procedures or policies, including a review of best practices in the province as it relates to projects requiring residents to connect to new sanitary services, including communication and engagement strategies, to ensure that residents are provided with all of the information, including their share of the capital costs on a timely basis, and that any changes to the current procedures and policies be brought back to council for review, and that staff be requested to review the project costs and explore any opportunities to reduce the cost for the property owner, including provincial funding, again, given the inflationary costs that have affected this project.
Thank you. Someone to second, Councillor Heeman? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to item number 8 of the agenda, reports of departments. 8.1 PW-DR-017-22 Kettle Creek Drain 2022 Township of Malahide. Okay. You're up. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good afternoon, Council. The reason this report is being presented to you today is due to the fact that Malahide, the Township of Malahide, has received an engineered drainage report, which does impact some residents within Thames Center. What this report is asking today is under section 97(3) of the Drainage Act, we must select one councillor to sit on the Court of Revisions meeting that's to take place January 5th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. And that counselor will be sitting as a member of the Court of Revisions, not as a counselor, and they'll be representing the entirety of the owners impacted by that report, not just the members of Thames Center as well. So at this point in time, I would suggest that council pick a member and I can help answer any questions you might have.
Okay. So does anyone on as a member of council like to, Chantel, you are volunteering?
I'm volunteering because most likely these will be affecting residents in Ward 3.
All right. So I suppose we're all in favor of that. Okay, we still mover for it as Deputy Mayor Smiger and second by Councilor Heeman. All in favor? Thank you. Not finally. Um. 8.2 is PW-ES-008-22 water and wastewater plant capacity fees update. Mr. Henry, did you want to speak to this?
It's not my report to speak to, so I see Jared moving around over
Is
there.
Jared- Oh, okay.
Do we
Jared.
have somebody also coming in remotely on this one?
Excuse me.
Okay.
It's Neil from Watson Associates.
Thank you.
There's
There
your
she
screen
is.
now.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, worship. Before you, PW-ES-008 2022 council report is before you for the water and wastewater capital charges under Part 12 of the Municipal Act 2001. This is the actual report that Nancy Neal from Watson provided an overview with at her PowerPoint presentation to council on November 28th during our council orientation day. The purpose of this report is to provide details on capital costs to be recovered through charges imposed under the authority of the Municipal Act for private service conversions to municipal water and wastewater services. As you know, Thames Center provides water and wastewater services to the communities of Dorchester and Thorndale, although not all properties are currently connected to the municipal water and wastewater systems. In 2019, council approved a study called the 2019 Water and Wastewater Master Plan, which identified future expansion requirements to the water system, which included water treatment, storage, and pumping facilities, as well as the wastewater treatment system, which included the treatment plant and pumping facilities. These new facilities will be sized to accommodate both existing and future system users. The majority of these capacity improvements are to be undertaken to meet future user demand. These new users of the system will occur either by development of a new property, development new properties such as subdivisions, or by connecting existing properties that are currently on their own private services, such as private wells or septic systems. Watson Associates recently completed the Thames Center 2021 Development Charge Background Study, not to mention the 2015 and 2020 Water and Wastewater Rate Study, and are currently completing our 2022 Stormwater Rates Study. Watsons were retained to complete a report to provide the details on water and wastewater capital costs to be recovered through charges imposed under the authority of the Municipal Act for private service conversions to municipal water and wastewater. This report attached to the council report, the water wastewater capital charges under Part 12 Municipal Act 2001 describes the benefiting area and capital needs, calculates the charges per service, and provides recommendations on payment options. The capital charge adopts the same approach as that was used to calculate the water and wastewater classes of service for DC and maintains level of equality among system users, meaning the same costs are charged to a developer, a new property, as an existing benefit to existing customer. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And Nancy's standing by here as well.
So do we have any questions, specific questions? Deputy Mayor?
I just have a couple. So Director Craven, if someone were to connect today, then what would the charge be?
If someone is connecting today, again, depending on what they're connecting to, the charges right now for the plant capacity fee in the report here recommends $8,668 for just a private residence for wastewater, and $3,928 for water connection. Those are what our DCs asked for, and it's just like for like. Those are those numbers that are in the DC files.
That answers the question.
It does answer the question, and I just I don't know if it's just myself. There just seems to be a lot of information. I understand that. Look, we're new and we're trying to get caught up to speed with this. Is there a concern if we delay taking any action on this? There seems to be some different moving parts. And again, we just dealt with a resolution on the Oakwood Street and trying to get those costs for the residents. So I just wanted to ask staff if there's any concerns with delaying making a decision on this.
Through your worship, our municipal extension policy as we spoke to the people on Oakwood and Hamilton Drive too, say, for example, King Street, we need to send that letter out and have that number to those people on King Street in Thorndale, because it's been a year after substantial. So that number needs to be going out by the end of the year here. So it's relatively time sensitive to stay within our policy mandate.
Councillor Heeman, did you have something to say?
I'm under the opinion that when we built our wastewater infrastructure and water infrastructure, that it had some account of current residences, right? And I believe that infrastructure was paid for at the time of construction, not entirely out of development fees. Is that a correct assumption, or what was the basis for funding construction and now looking at recapturing costs?
Someone would like to respond to that, please?
Continue with the department that's handling the report.
Okay,
Thank-
Jared.
Through your worship, this is for plan expansion. This is for future demand. So again, it's for new wastewater main, customers that are currently not on that wastewater system.
So what part of the future demand would not be covered by the life cycle charge that is currently in place?
That would be existing infrastructure, sanitary mains, water mains, hydrants, whatnot, infrastructure that's in the ground right now. Life cycle charge is for replacement, not new infrastructure.
Mr. Craven, if I could ask you, would there be, given the fact that you need to send these folks a letter, is there any impediment if we were to defer this for a future, for discussion on our next meeting at, on the 19th?
I'd have to speak with our finance department.
Would you like to respond?
Sorry, thank you. I'd have to ask the clerk's department if it's okay to add a regular report of council to a special budget meeting of council in this context as requested.
So in other words, we need to act. Okay. Councillor Heeman.
Well, I would make the comment that I'm not in support of this capital charge. I don't think it's fair to impose a charge on the residents of Oakwood Drive and on King Street, where this is the first public notification of such a charge. I think Deputy Mayor Smybert had a very good recommendation with looking at best practices and transparent communication, and I don't think it's fair for us to impose an additional $12,000 on residents when we just had this project completed. I don't think that that kind of a retroactive charge is in the spirit of good planning.
Councillor Lockie.
Could it be an option to send the letters as they are with the caveat that this additional amount has been proposed, but has been requested by council to be reviewed later, and that portion will be communicated at a later date?
Your worship, yeah, that's definitely an option too. And if I can answer Councillor Heeman's question here, these are charges that are will be proposed in 2024 when those letters go out 1 year after substantial completion to residents of Hamilton and Oakwood. So this fee doesn't start until those letters are sent out.
So would it be after? Would it be in effect after or currently to these projects? Because I think that was discussed at the training session, and I thought the understanding was that it would apply to these projects, being that they are within the substantial completion date.
Mr. Craven?
Yeah, through your worship, 1 year after substantial completion, that's when these letters and the fees will take effect. For example, 2024 in Hamilton Oakwood, say January.
To answer Councillor Heeman's question is yes, they would pertain to this project. They're just deferred until that time.
Yes, but
Sorry, I'm just wondering if Nancy Neal could provide us with some rationale as to the charges. And if it was decided that these charges were not initiated on certain projects, what the implication would be and how the municipality would actually recover those costs that that are incurred, that are attributed to the benefit to existing residents within the municipality on the wastewater system specifically.
Sure, thank you. Good afternoon. Through your worship. Currently, there were very few projects that were identified during your last water and wastewater rate study analysis that set your volume and monthly base charge rates. Therefore, any expansionary costs that cannot be recovered from the property owners, whether that's through new development, through development charges, or through a Municipal Act Part 12 bylaw, would impact your monthly bill for your water and wastewater rates with an increase. How much that increase would be, we would have to calculate based on the amount that may or may not be recovered through the municipal charges that are in front of you today for consideration. So if this charge is not put in place, that benefit to existing component would be fully funded from, would have to be fully funded from your water and or wastewater rates.
Thank you, Nancy.
Welcome.
Mr. Heeman, did you?
But what I don't understand is that when the previous council voted to go ahead with these projects, it was on the basis that we had existing supply and capacity. And so this charge is referring to new capacity, and I don't see how this would apply in this circumstance. And I don't think it's fair, again, to apply an additional $12,000 after the fact, in my opinion. Again, for every homeowner should have the ability to plan what their own expenditures are. And I think that this really puts that up in terms of, some hefty price tags.
Thank you. Any response from either Mr. Craven or Nancy?
Through your worship.
Yes, go ahead.
Councillor Heeman, you've mentioned the $12,000 charge. That's for both water and wastewater. In both cases, the Thorndale, King Street and Dorchester Hamilton Road is just wastewater component that's being installed. The water mains are already there. So in both instances, it would be $8,668. These plant capacity fees have been in place for almost 10 years. They were kind of pulled out of our fees and tariff. Now we're just doing, I guess, cleaning up, and we're putting them back in. And it's like, say, Nancy did the study here. So those numbers are true numbers for, calculate with our DCs. They've been there for 10 plus years.
Thank you, Mr. Craven. Councillor Lockie.
Through your worship to Director Craven. So, or possibly to Ms. Neal. So aside from, if we decide against these fees, which we know for people who are already being put on the system, it's a big financial burden. Aside from allocating it to current users, which also doesn't seem like a logical solution, are there any other possible options? Perhaps, putting an extra tax increase, marginal amount and setting aside a reserve. Could that be an option?
Sorry, thank you, your worship, and through you. I will ask Nancy to confirm, but my understanding is for both water and wastewater systems, municipalities are not to burden general taxpayers who do not have access to those systems with the cost to maintain, construct, or operate those systems. So to apply it in a general tax levy would be applying burden onto ratepayers within the municipality that do not have the ability to connect to the water and wastewater systems.
Thank you, Ms. Grogan.
Yeah, through you, your worship, I can add to what Kim was stating there. Two things, the water legislation that's in place requires municipalities to self-sustain within your water rates. So providing, tax incentives or tax revenues towards water is not currently, you're not currently able to do that. Wastewater is encouraged at this point to be self-sustaining, but has not had full implementation similar to water under legislation. So if you do want to put tax dollars to it, that is a possibility, however, discouraged. If you were to do that, I would suggest that you would only apply that additional tax levy to the urban serviced areas. Therefore, people that are on unserviced properties, as Kim was mentioning, it would be unfair to charge them property taxes towards a service that they have no ability of accessing.
So any other comments from council? Clerk?
Could I just please elaborate on my previous point, just to say that the head of council can at any time call a special meeting with 24 hours notice. I just want to make sure I covered all my bases.
So I guess before we call the question, what is council's feelings on the matter? Do you want to have more time? Councillor Lockie?
Yes, due to the complexity of this document, the fact that we're new counselors and that it has such a big impact, I would recommend that we have a special meeting or discuss it at the next regular meeting.
Are you making a motion?
I make the motion to have a special meeting or discuss at the next meeting.
So just for the sake of timelines, Jared, what is the timeline on the Thorndale situation? Is it the end of the year? It's before the January 16th date? Okay, so it would need to be another scheduled meeting. What I would recommend, council, is that you perhaps look at the backside of the December 19th budget deliberations meeting, and upon completion, have a quick one at that point.
Would we all be in agreement with that then? Okay, then. So the motion from Councillor Lockie, would you like to just speak to
So
that?
I motion,
Just for clarification.
I motion to have a special meeting on December 19th after the budget meeting to further discuss the proposal.
All right. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Crockett?
Could I just ask that you include part of the original motion that report number PWES 008 be received for information, and that the report submitted by Watson and Associates also be received? We could throw that in there too from the agenda.
So we're making an amendment to the motion, but so proceed for. Yeah. So we'll call the vote again for the amended motion then. So Councillor Lockie's motion, a seconder. Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. In relation to the subject matter, Nancy, are you available on that date? On the 19th after our budget deliberations, albeit we won't have a definitive time. There'll be the afternoon sometime.
Yes, I am.
Okay, that would be great to have you back in on that. In the meantime, I would request of staff that we go find out why these were pulled from the tariff and fees back in 2019 under previous administration, and find out what we need to do as to why that happened. And then we can give council a few more answers, because these charges were there and then they were not, and we'd like to know why ourselves. So we'll find out from that point.
Thank you for that. Then motion carried. All right. So, thank you. So moving on, we have before us item 8.3. Clerk 012-22 proposed fees and charges. That's Sarah.
So I'll be presenting the report for the 2023 proposed fees and charges. These fees and charges are reviewed every year and updated for council's consideration. It's important to note that most municipal services are subsidized by property taxes. The fee increases allow the municipality to reduce the impact on the tax rate while continuing to provide high levels of service. This report and bylaw, it's been a collaborative effort between all departments. So the directors are here should you have any questions about a specific area. Thank you.
Thank you. So any questions regarding the chart of fees? None? Okay, see, Councillor Lockheed.
So
Sorry.
are we addressing all of the fees at once?
Like,
Ones that have been changed or highlighted in your package there.
Okay.
There's the highlighted versions attached to that report and then the actual bylaws at the end of the agenda.
Okay. I do have a question for your worship.
Certainly.
So with respect to the new hardball field, because that's relatively new, have we considered charging a premium rate for, I guess, under the lights games on, at prime time Friday or Saturday nights?
I would direct that question, I think, to Director McDonald.
Through you, Your Worship. So the way that the pricing is proposed for New Royal Field, there is in the top line there, consistent with other under the light fees, there is an upcharge whenever the lights are on. So,
Okay.
but it's kind of a standard rate for every ball diamond and soccer pitch that is under lights.
okay, that answered the question?
Yes. Thank you.
All right, then. Any other questions before we? Councillor Heyman?
Through you, Your Worship, to Director Craven, the increased wastewater rates, are those in line with the CPI, or are they scheduled on a different increase program?
Yeah, through your worship, they're actually lower than the CPI. That's as per the water wastewater rate study. It was a 2% increase over last year, and they're locked in till 2029.
Thank you.
Since I have the floor, in that same schedule there, the water and wastewater plant capacity fees were included in the fees and tariff. They may want to be, since they weren't approved, they may want to be removed.
Thank you. We note that.
Sorry.
I think I maybe Schedule F.
Sorry, could you repeat? Are we removing a section?
I believe it's at the top of the section there. It's plant capacity fees and those line items, those costs. I think it was at the top of the schedule.
Would we be amending the motion then? To remove that?
I would make that motion pending the.
Adding that to the original motion, correct?
Yes.
Could I confirm that as well, please, just for logistics?
So that report number clerk -012-22 be received for information, and that the proposed 2023 fees and charges be approved by bylaw. And that pending the discussion on the 19th. So we wouldn't be able to pass the bylaw at this meeting, that the bylaw be deferred until after the special meeting on the 19th.
Yeah, the preference is to pass the bylaw, but we would bring back those other rates at that point.
So pass the bylaw without schedule section E.
Yeah. No, hang on, Director of Finance has got an input here.
Sorry, I would propose that we pass the bylaw with the removal of those two charges on Schedule E. So not the removal of the entire schedule, just the removal of those charges for, I believe they're labeled as plant capacity fees.
There's a large hinging contingency on the budget here as well, so we need to do this, but we want to keep those separately, but we will take care of it all as one. So you'll get a bylaw for 7 days, council, and then you'll bring back that bylaw again with the new fees on next week when you make a decision on what you want to do there.
Just to confirm the wording, sorry, just to make sure I have it, that the proposed 2023 fees and charges be approved by bylaw with the removal of two charges on Schedule E.
And specifically water and wastewater.
Water and wastewater, okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Heeman?
Just a question to our Treasury Department. Is there any ability to spread out those fees when and if they are applied? Is there any debenture options for residents?
So our current policy includes debentures over either a 5 or 10-year period. Given CPI, the increasing costs of non-residential construction prices, it's certainly within council's purview to take a look and see if they want to extend those debenture options greater than a 10-year period. So that is an option as well. It would require the policy being amended to include longer terms.
Thank you. Councillor Lockheed?
All right, I also have one more recommendation. So with respect to the increase in the wastewater, just because the increase in, our, sorry, I'm lost for words, but in the budget for reserves, that's the word. And that has a large impact on the rates. And because the budget is not has not been approved yet for that section, perhaps we could hold off until after budget approval before confirming the wastewater charges. Is that an option?
The budget, sorry, Kim, the budget will not be passed until January as per the new council term anyway. So you could do it in principle like you just did this morning. It gets held over and then the adjustment can be made sometime prior to passing it fully as in January.
Sorry, Councillor Lockheed, could you just provide that wording again?
Sure. Yes. My question was with respect to the water rate increase, given that, it is an increase and it's due to a large part of the budget. If we could postpone in raising and confirming that, and I guess in improving that 2% increase until after we've completed the budget. Okay.
Sorry, thank you. So the 2% increase in wastewater rates is as established in our 2020 wastewater rate study that was completed. So staff are not proposing an increase over and above. We're not proposing an increase equal to CPI, but it's imperative that the rates are passed prior to the start of the year so that when we start to do water and wastewater billings, we're billing them from current rates. So any deferral of passing of wastewater rates will impact and change how we actually go forward in our billings in 2023 if those rates are not passed prior to the end of the year.
So for clarification, I'm going to ask you to read the motion one more time. Oh, excuse me.
Just a comment on Councillor Lockey's proposal. I don't think we can really bring down those rates or change them substantially through the budget process unless we establish a fund from general levies to subsidize our water fees, as Nancy just said, but you can't really do that. It's frowned upon apparently.
Give council a little bit of backstory again on this one. We really ripped the Band-Aid off, and we recognize that that Band-Aid was ripped off hard a couple of years ago when we set the 2%, 2%, 2% across the board for the next how many years, Jared? 2029. Okay. We were a lot different than the municipalities that haven't done their studies yet or haven't got that far yet, because you're going to see, and I don't want to pick on a particular municipality, but there's a large one close to us that hasn't done theirs. And when they do it, it's going to be substantial. And you're going to see 4, 7, 6.9. That's what you're going to watch. We ripped it off and we went 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 for this very reason right here. So that's really an item that has already been done in the study and can't go back and really actually change that unless you go back and do the whole study again. So that's not really negotiable to wait on that portion of it.
All right. I think at this point, if you could just read the motion again and just
Absolutely.
make sure there's been a lot of discussion around this. I just want to make sure we're absolutely clear.
Absolutely. That report number clerk -012-22 be received for information, and that the proposed 2023 fees and charges be approved by bylaw with the removal of the 2 charges on Schedule E, specifically water and wastewater.
Sorry, could you add water and wastewater plant capacity so that we're actually specifying which water and wastewater rate we're removing? Thank you.
All right. So I just want to be clear that we're all know what we're voting on here. So, okay. So a mover, Councillor Heeman, seconder. Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Thank you. At this point, we move on to 8.4. Clerk -011-22, review of municipal boards and committees and appointment of council representatives.
Me again. So staff has completed a review of all current municipal boards and consideration or committees for your consideration, as well as your direction on the appointment of council members to various boards and committees. So when reviewing, staff use the following criteria. Is the committee required by legislation? Is its mandate relevant and achievable? Is it aligned with our strategic plan? And is the committee or board operating effectively? With respect to appointments for boards and committees, as per our procedural bylaw, these appointments may be a member of council or may be a person appointed from amongst its ratepayers. The number of council members to be appointed for each committee is dependent on the terms of reference for each committee. Please note that council is able to amend the terms of reference for any committee by resolution. With respect to the Police Services Board, council established this board consisting of 5 members. The head of council must be appointed, or if the head chooses not to be a member of the board, another member of council can be appointed by resolution. I'm here to answer any questions. If you have any questions about a specific committee, again, the directors may also be able to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I can appreciate the staff's done a good review in terms of looking at the committees over the past 4 years and looking outward over the next 4. My comment or concern actually relates to the Thorndale Dog Park. That's an ad hoc advisory committee. My understanding is that dog park hasn't been established yet or positioned on the site. So, and I have received some correspondence from a member of that particular committee who does feel that due to circumstances like during COVID, that sort of thing, it was really difficult to get the committee members together, but there still seems to be some passion there to move forward with that particular advisory committee. So that's a committee that I would not like to see disbanded, but rather continued.
Thank you. Do we have some discussion around that? Councillor Heeman?
Yeah, I think that there's still some differences of opinion as to where the final location will be within the community. I know there has been recommendations put forward, but I think it's still relevant in terms of steering to bring that location to a close. Fundraising has occurred. I think that the committee is a good vehicle to continue to organize fundraising. We noticed when we closed the Dorchester committee that fundraising kind of ceased pretty quickly after that. So I would see it as a boon to keep that committee going, and I would volunteer my name as a member to sit on it.
All righty. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. I just wanted to add a bit more to this as well. Arden from I Love Thorndale reached out to me this morning as well. And this afternoon provided an update. I requested if she could determine how much the committee has raised to this point. And that was due from efforts from the youth of Thorndale and I Love Thorndale. Kirk Hallman, who first presented to the previous council for the dog park, is with us this afternoon. Hello, Kirk. So they've raised to date $4,286 that they still have earmarked for this project. I did reply to Arden. Her one concern was that did the recommendation of not continuing with this committee mean that this dog park would not occur? And I replied to her that the Thorndale Dog Park is still proposed in the 2023 capital budget. So they don't go hand in hand. If there is not a committee, it does not mean that the dog park would not proceed. Then the only other thing I wanted to add to this topic was that whether or not council decides to proceed with a committee on the option of not proceeding, I would still be happy to report back to council on matters with this and coordinate. Like I've been in discussions with the Thorndale Agricultural Society on different times with regards to the location of the dog park, because that's important to them and they want to have some say in that. So I've got a good working relationship with them. So I'm happy to work with them, with Youth of Thorndale, with I Love Thorndale, whether it's under the capacity of an official committee of council or not. I think we can all work together and I can keep council informed. So I'm happy with whatever council sees fit.
Thank you. So is it the will of council to continue this either as an ad hoc committee and have the report back? Motion, Madam Chair?
I think it might be easier if we split all of the motions, I think for me, if that's okay. So if we just go with that this report be received for information and that the local school advisory committee and the Thorndale Dog Park, let's separate that and just have that motion and discuss that. And we'll just make our way down if that's okay and just separate them all.
So the next part is the local school advisory committee. Would anyone like to comment on that?
Yes, I can speak to this as I think about 2 or 3 years ago is my motion that helped instigate this committee. And as the previous chair, I'm proud of the work that we accomplished during the time of the committee. We worked with Director of Planning Mark Bancroft and commissioned a report that I think was quite persuasive, not only to council, but also to the Thames Valley District School Board and the Catholic School Board as well, outlining the gaps and deficiencies in terms of our projected planning and completed construction and their classroom capacity. So I think if you look at the terms of reference, there was an outline to work on areas of common ground and to create a retention plan. You can look at that report as being that plan. And since then, I believe the strict ties between the two planning departments and the school boards and our own planning department have strengthened, which I think culminated in the announcement to fund, the plan to construct additional classrooms at Thorndale, West Niagara Public School. That said, there are a number of additional issues that are on the horizon that the committee could address. And so it would be up for discussion to the council as to whether there's a need to proceed with the committee. I did receive correspondence from our Thames Valley Board of Trustee, Arlene Morel, who said that she did greatly value the committee and she feels that the burden on the school system will be particularly hard in this coming year. So I think they're looking at the end of the moratorium on school board closures, and that might present some issues and also some redistricting with respect to the catchment area of Lord Dorchester, in addition to the name change of Lord Dorchester. So that said, as the past chair, I'm not looking to continue to serve on that board. So if there's someone interested in taking up that responsibility, I wouldn't get in their way. But I think the mandate was met, and if there is a new mandate, then it requires new leadership.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding it? So what is council's will on the school advisory board? Deputy Mayor Swiber?
Yeah, I think if our trustee is indicating that there's a need for that and she would like us to continue with that, I think that we should take her advice. As there are a lot of matters that will be coming up in terms of school board issues this year, and I'm happy to be that representative.
Great, thank you.
First motion. That report number clerk -011-22 be received for information, and that the local school advisory committee continue, and that Deputy Mayor Smyber be appointed as council representative, and that the Thorndale Dog Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee continue, and that Tom Heeman be appointed as council representative.
We have a motion. Second to the motion.
Sorry, who's moving?
Seconded by Councilman.
Okay.
All in favor? All about it. Go ahead. Okay. The next item. Would you like to continue? Yeah.
So the second motion for council's consideration, and that council provide direction to staff regarding the continuance of the Flight Exec Center Expansion Ad Hoc Committee. So option 1 or option 2, appointing members of council as necessary.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Smyber.
I was just curious if staff had a recommendation in terms of what option you would like to see.
Thank you, through your worship. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Snyder. I'll ponder those for a second. No,
Depends.
it does. It does. Then that's why I wanted to ponder them and just kind of puts, so it depends on where you go with this, as a project or not. So,
Should we defer that until the 19th because it depends, we haven't addressed the construction funding.
yeah, I would just do it all as that and just defer that one for now.
My concern would just be with special meetings, it needs to be a specific purpose for each meeting. So having, I don't know if it would be at budget or at the one in the
Okay,
afternoon.
so what I would do is, listen, we can disband the committee now and then just disband it. When we decide as a project that you want to move ahead with this, you can start a committee at any time. The committee does not have to wait for this specific time of year to do this. So what I would do is my recommendation, council, is I would disband the committee for the time being. Once you make your decision and you pass it as a budget, whatever level of project you want to move ahead with, at that point, then reestablish a committee on the construction project and or advisory to that project.
So I will so move.
Moved by,
Sorry, that would be, and that the Flight Exec Center Expansion Ad Hoc Committee be disbanded.
Correct with I think there needs to be wording around the fact that this will be reviewed once council makes a decision with respect to the capital project for the 2023 budget.
Sarah, and then add in the end that clerk request for.
So then the next motion won't be necessary that the clerk be requested to forward a letter. So we'll skip that one.
That's the one for flight exec. Still need that.
Right, I'll need that wording for the flight exec. So the next motion, council, for your consideration, and that the member of council be appointed as council representatives on the Thames Center Sports Wall of Fame Committee.
all right. So any member of council who might be interested in filling that position, Councillor Heeman?
I nominate Councillor Crockett.
I accept.
All right.
Okay, I need to pause here again. So I keep seeing a member of council. Does the terms of reference not state that two members of council need to be on this committee?
So every committee of council has different terms of references. For the most part, it seems that it's 5 members, 2 of which will be members of council, but
So these should say 2 members of council.
as per our procedural bylaw, these appointments to the committees may be a member of council or may be a person appointed from amongst its ratepayers. So it could be like 0, 1, or 2, I think.
Okay. Council's pleasure then, but based on the terms of reference, I think these have all been two members of, one of which will chair the committee.
This is a comment through you, your worship, and the logic being that if you have 2 members of council, then in the absence of the chair, which is usually a member of council, then the vice chair is also a member of council, and this is done to keep in accordance with our procedures. And also it's good best practice in that you don't have discrepancy from committees and council, that it's very clear that they are committees of council and that they are there to be an aid to council. So sometimes that can get lost. And we found that by doing this, that it has been much more smooth, right? You don't have a lack of the left hand talking to the right hand because they're ipso facto the same.
We would make a slight amendment to that motion where we would need 2 members and one being the chair.
I think the chair is appointed at the committee of council meeting. So I think it's just the council representatives. Yeah.
Councillor Crockett?
2 things. It seems as though that there is one discrepancy to that being the Thorndale Dog Park Ad Hoc Committee. It seems as though there's only one council representative listed here. So that might have to change in their terms of reference if there is one as a ad hoc committee.
So the Thorndale Dog Park Committee is actually the only committee with the term of reference where it's only one council representative.
If council would like to direct staff to come back and change that to 2, I would recommend that you do that because that committee has lacked traction and the more the merrier. So let's maybe throw an extra body at that if council would consider that in order to maintain some traction on that committee if it's going to keep going.
Crockett?
Second part to that, with the amendments that were just made for clarity, I will let my name stand as one of the council representatives on the Thames Center Sports Wall of Fame Committee.
Do we have anyone else who might be interested in that committee? Councillor Heeman?
As seen as I have been to a meeting when I took over Councillor Patterson's responsibilities. It would be good for transition and
Okay.
seems like a fun group.
And that Councillor Crockett and Councillor Heeman be appointed as council representatives on the Thames Center Sports Wall of Fame Committee.
Okay. Deputy Smyber?
I don't want to backtrack because we're making some pretty good progress here, but just in reference to what CEO Henry had indicated, I am happy to participate on the Thorndale Dog Park Advisory Committee.
So
Are we
that'd
making
be,
progress?
sorry, that would be friendly amendment then to her.
Just ensure that the direct staff to change the terms of reference to 2 members of council on that terms of reference, please, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So that Councillor Crockett and Councillor Heeman be appointed as council representatives on the Thames Center Sports Wall of Fame Committee, and that Deputy Mayor Smybert be appointed to the Thorndale Dog Park Committee, and that staff be directed to amend the terms of reference for the Thorndale Dog Park Committee to allow for 2 council representatives.
Great. So, call the question. So, I need a mover, Tom Heeman, and seconder, Sean.
I was just going to say, do we want to do all of them at once as laid out in the agenda? Or do we have to do these amendments separately?
We don't have to do them separately. I
Okay.
just thought it was easier.
Would you like to make it totaled so that?
I'm just thinking for clarity, we might as well have that on reference and then start at number 1 and go through instead of jumping around.
It's a good point.
Councillor Crockett, would it be okay with you if we left what we've done, decided on, and then group the rest together, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good. Except that I feel like we'll need to add the addition of Councillor Heeman to the Thorndale
Yes, we do.
Dog Park Committee as well. Because that was aforementioned earlier.
Okay, may I? Okay, all right. So let's go on to the next one and then we'll come back. Now, well, hold on. First and foremost, let's go back to the local school board committee. We have Deputy Mayor Smybert on there. Is there a member of council that would like to be on there as well? Let's just get this moved through right now. And we won't vote on this. Okay, so you would, Okay, so then I'm going to spark discussion. You guys decide what you would like to see as council and we'll go from there.
Okay, Counselor, what's your pleasure?
Sounds good.
Okay, we're in agreement with that.
Is that for local
The
school?
local school board.
Okay, because we had a resolution with local school for.
But we need two.
But there's two, but we're just adding on.
So we're
Okay,
just gonna, so don't worry about your resolution for now. We're
Okay.
just gonna go through. Okay, so we've got two for that board. We have the flag exec, we're going to disband that committee for the time being, to be very, very clear. And then we've got the Thames Center Sports Wall of Fame, which is going to be Councillor Heeman and Councillor Crockett. And then we're going to move down, and right now we're going to talk about the Thames Center Special Events Committee. We need two members of council.
Oh, in that particular case, Councillor Crockett.
I would like to put my name forward to be a member of the Thames Center Special Events Committee as a council representative and remove myself as a community representative from the previous
Right.
membership.
Thank you. And Councillor Lockie.
Yes, I would also like to be a council member of the Special Events Committee.
Okay.
Okay, hold that thought, folks.
Righty.
Is everybody else in verbal, agreements? Okay, that's been tremendous. Thank you. Okay, and a member plural of council be appointed as council representatives on the Accessibility and Inclusivity Advisory Committee.
Yes, I'd be interested in that.
Okay.
There's one.
Anyone else?
Okay.
All right.
We can move
Move
on.
on to
We
the
don't need
next
to
one.
have two. Oh,
Mhm.
good. We just did the recommendations too. Okay, and then Mayor McMillan be appointed to the Thames Center Police Services Board.
If I may, I'd like to exercise that option to a delegate.
Okay.
If someone is interested, otherwise. Deputy Mayor Smybert is interested.
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Okay, and then one, oh, sorry, anybody else interested? Sorry, I should ask. Okay,
Councillor Lockie.
okay, and anyone else? Okay, so that, would that fall under Sarah, the next one then, and that one member of council be appointed the council representative on the Police Services Board? Okay, so. All right, perfect. And then the next two are just staff recommendations. The clerk be directed to contact existing community representatives, confirm interest reappointment, advertise in the local paper, et cetera, and website if necessary, as necessary, sorry. And that the clerk be requested to report back to council concerning the outcome of the interest from the existing community representatives and advertisement of seeking new members, noting that the bylaw consolidation, all appointments once known be prepared for council approval. So I will start from the top and come right back through with resolution, okay? Stop me when I'm wrong. Okay, that report number clerk 11-22 be received for information. We are going to skip over the next one. And that council provides direction to staff to disband the Flight Center Expansion Ad Hoc Committee. And that the clerk be requested to forward letters to the members of that committee, extending council's appreciation for their commitment and dedication while sitting on that committee. Okay, we're good so far. And that Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Heeman, correct, on this local school?
sorry, it was between, yes,
You?
the mayor and.
Okay, so, and that the mayor and the deputy mayor be appointed as council representatives on the local school advisory committee. Correct? Okay, all right, and that Councillor Crockett and Councillor Heeman be appointed to the Thames Center Sports Wall of Fame Committee. And that Councillor Crockett and Councillor Lockie, special events. Thank you. And that Deputy Mayor Smybert be appointed, because it's only one. And that Deputy Mayor Smyver be appointed to the Thames Center Police Services Board, and that Councillor Lockie be appointed to as council representative on the Police Services Board. And then the clerk be directed to contact all the nice people in the community. In summary.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Housekeeping
Write
is
that down.
housekeeping.
We'll send it to you. We'll send it to you in writing, Scott.
All right.
Sorry, one thing just to muddle it. For the Accessibility and Inclusivity Committee, is that just Deputy Mayor Smyber? Do we have a second council member for that committee? Just one, okay. The Dog Park Committee is Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Heeman, and that staff be directed to amend the terms of reference of the Thorndale Dog Park Committee to allow for 2 representatives.
Oh, we will call the question for all of this large motion. Do I have someone to move? Deputy Mayor Smybert, seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Carried. Thank you for your patience. The next item on the agenda is the extension to the facilities license agreement for Boys and Girls Club, CS-012-22. I must apologize. I'm not sure who's speaking to this. Okay. Mr. McDonald, it's all yours.
Thank you, through you, your worship. So you have before you this report, and basically what the Boys and Girls Club is requesting is an extension. Back in July, the previous council approved a agreement until the end of this calendar year, a trial for the Boys and Girls Club to have free use of the Thorndale Lions Community Center and parts of the park that surround that community center for up to a maximum specified amount of time per week to run whatever sort of programs they could to offer programming to boys and girls in the community that we do not offer ourselves. So it's a win-win. They get to offer programming for our community, and instead of us having that expense, and then we save them the expense of renting. So unfortunately, they had some challenges with finding staffing for a portion of this trial period. So they weren't able to really get a solid grasp on the reception, on the demand, on the success of it on an ongoing basis. So they'd like us to carry on, extend it till the end of the school year, so to the end of June 2023. And shortly before that, they would like to then come before council as a delegation in the spring, at which point they would tell you firsthand how it's going and propose what they would like to do beyond the trial period. So that's what's before council today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great. Council, anyone with a question or comment? Councillor Crockett?
My question was already answered by Steve. I was going to say, I think we should move this motion forward with the terms being added that they are able to give us some numbers before renewal going forward. So.
Senator Heeman, did you have something to say on that matter as well?
No, I think that the Boys and Girls Club has done a lot of programming off and on throughout the years, and I think they're a valued member of the community. So I think this is a good olive branch.
So we have the motion before us that report number CS-012-22 be received for information, and that the proposed authorization of a 6-month extension of the attached facility license agreement with the Boys and Girls Club of London be approved by bylaw. Do we have a mover? Or and you wanted to amend that?
I just wanted to add that before the end of the 6-month extension that they come forward with a progress report for us.
Okay, so for the recommended motion, that report number CS -012-22 be received for information, and that the proposed authorization of a 6-month extension of the attached facility license agreement with the Boys and Girls Club of London be approved by bylaw, and that a progress report be submitted to the municipality before the end of the 6-month extension.
Thank you. I'll move that.
Moved by Councillor Crockett, seconded by Councillor Heeman. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carried. We'll move on to the disposal of surplus lands. 8.6 PDS-058-22, land being in question 2637 Dorchester Road. Mr. Bancroft?
Thank you, Your Worship. So this proposal was originally heard by the previous council back in September, where there was a resolution passed to direct the CAO to enter into an agreement of purchase and sale to sell a parcel of land having an area approximately 0.22 acres at a value of $20,000 per acre, subject to the purchaser covering all applicable surveying and legal expenses. The purchaser or the owner of the adjacent property has suddenly realized that he now wishes to acquire additional lands. So if I can use the analogy of a hockey stick, at first he was interested in pursuing the blade of the stick, and now he wants to pursue purchase of the entire property shaped as a hockey stick, including the handle. And so now he's now requesting to purchase lands as enlarged, having an area of 0.4 acres as shown on the location map that's attached to my report. A few things to point out: any sale or disposition of municipal properties bound by the municipality's bylaw 65-2022, which authorizes the sale of surplus lands. And to note, there's some procedures that apply, such as a council resolution is required to declare the land surplus to the needs of the municipality, considering that these lands have access to a highway, that being Dorchester Road. And also notice has to be provided of council's intention to sell the lands, and an appraisal is not required considering the lands have an estimated value of less than $10,000. Also, in terms of financial implications, if council wishes to proceed, there would be a financial benefit for the sale. Net proceeds should be directed to the community services and facilities reserved to accommodate future capital projects. And any applicable legal surveying costs would be at the expense of the purchaser. So it's my recommendation, Your Worship, as laid out in my report, that the report be received for information, and that the lands having an area of 1,600 square meters, which is 0.4 of an acre, that those lands located at the rear and north side of 2637 Dorchester Road be declared surplus to the needs of the municipality, that the lands be disposed of through direct negotiations with the purchaser, and that staff be authorized to negotiate the terms and conditions of the proposed disposition. I'm here to answer any questions, Your Worship. Thank you.
Just before we move on to council, is there anyone here to speak to that issue? No.
No, the
It's
neighboring property owner is not present.
Okay. All right. Council then? Councillor Lockie?
Could the municipality ever have a reason to want to keep this property, or we ever have a use for it?
Through your worship, in my opinion, the land does not hold any value in terms of future use for the municipality. It is adjacent to a ravine. It's really only this property owner who would stand to benefit. There's also virtually no development possibility for these lands, considering it's a regulated area by the Conservation Authority. There's no ability, to create another residential lot as well. So, thank you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Could it ever be used as a path to the mill pond?
Through your worship, there could be an opportunity for a pathway. It's not as if disposal of these lands would preclude our ability to do so, because if you see the location map, you can see the drain that sort of lies in the middle of the remnant parcel that we would own. So I still think even with the disposition of these lands, we would still have that opportunity for a pathway.
Council, I think it's important to note, there's two things that have brought this to the forefront. One is the land that you're looking here, particularly in Mark's analogy of the blade of the stick, has been maintained by the previous homeowner for the last 40 years. So we've not had anything to do with it regardless. And when the land that was given to us, and that's what happened, was given to us by the Boardwalk subdivision expansion, was worthless land. When it was provided to us, the timeliness of this individual purchasing that property, the proponents that own that subdivision would have given this land to that individual prior to. It was just timing to ensure that this timing that prevented this from happening. And then he approached us afterward in consideration of this option.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so we have the motion before us. Do we have someone who would like to move the motion? Deputy Mayor Smyberg, seconded. Councillor Crockett, all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. The next part is mayor's report to the county council. I must say this has been a very busy time since the election in October. It actually feels like months ago. Anyway, my report is such that the deputy mayor and I have attended 2 orientation sessions at county council with lots of opportunities to learn the working of council, as well as a chance to meet and to begin forming relationships with other councillors, support staff, and find out the who does what aspect of what we're doing. In addition, I attended another really beneficial tour of the county, first to the Strathmere Lodge, followed by the Strathroy Library and Early On Child Care Center in Strathroy. And then we went on to the Middlesex Garage and expansion, which really took me by surprise, because I really was wondering when we got off the little bus why we were looking at a garage. But I stand corrected. That's quite a facility there, and it's provided a real benefit to the county. Following that, we were invited to a very informative tour of the Middlesex London Paramedic Services building. That people was a real eye-opener. The logistics alone of what it takes to run that organization is phenomenal. And I give those people full marks. And we had a little bit of a lunch there. And then we were here on the 16th of November for our inauguration ceremonies. And we then followed that up by our first meeting and orientation on November 28th. Lastly, the inauguration of Middlesex County Council was held this past Thursday, December the 8th. Quite an impressive event. In the in the chambers and in the Middlesex room. We were piped in, really well done, and nice, very nice performance by the of Christmas music by the Medway Madrigal Choir, and then followed by dinner in the Middlesex room. So I don't know whether the deputy mayor has anything else to add to this, but that's kind of a quick overview of what's been going on since election.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that was a very good overview of the last couple months. Just wanted to indicate, though, that the warden for this term of council for 2023 is Kathy Burkhart Jessen from Lincoln-Badolf, and they appointed a deputy warden as well, because there's no previous warden on county council this term, and that is Ina DeViet from Middlesex Center.
okay, thank you. I guess we'll review the meeting schedule. Our next meeting will be Monday, December sorry, unfit, listen, any unfinished business that we need to take care of before we go to adjournment. Nothing. And what did I miss that? Oh, I'm sorry, right. That's okay. Yep. I'm sorry, I scrolled down too far. All right, we have item number 11. And I'm going to ask the deputy mayor to take that item.
Sure. Thank you, your worship. So I'm bringing forward a notice of motion to adjust a couple of things. One, the meeting calendar was set prior to the municipal election, and we have some new members around the horseshoe, and some work full time, and so sometimes meeting those daytime meetings is a bit of a challenge to schedule. So in discussions with the mayor, we thought it would be worth bringing a motion to council to have the meeting time changed from the regular 1 p.m. Afternoon meeting to 5 p.m. So currently there's an afternoon meeting and then an evening meeting. So this change would ensure that both meetings each month would start at 5 p.m. The second part of the notice of motion is that we had heard throughout the campaign a bit of a disconnect with our Thorndale residents. So this notice of motion attempts to bring the council chambers closer to the Thorndale residents. I understand in speaking with the clerk's office, there could be some logistical challenges, but nothing that we can't overcome in terms of technology. So that was really the intent of my notice of motion, seeing that the procedural bylaw will be coming to us sometime in 2023. I'm sure that those changes can fit into the new procedural bylaw, but until such time, felt it was important to bring a notice of motion and a resolution for council consideration. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council? Any comments? Councillor Heeman.
I just want to applaud the initiative on recognizing Thorndale as another urban center in this community, and that accessibility is sometimes a challenge. And so I think being able to host in that community will be really appreciated. And I think it's something that, yeah, it's unprecedented. So I think it's quite the gesture.
All right, we have the, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. Just to echo Tom's comments, I think this motion really brings some inclusivity, not only just for members of council, but also the residents in Thorndale and residents as a whole, accommodating to evening meetings. There was some guests here this afternoon, but I hope to see more people out to our council meetings to get the information with the 5 p.m. start time. Thanks.
Thank you. So we call the question. Mover.
So I'll move it. Yes.
And a seconder, please. Councillor Lockie. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Some items of new business. Mhm.
So item number 12.1, this item is to see if any council members would be interested in being appointed to the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. So this is a shared appointment between Thames Center and Luke and Biddulph, and it's usually rotated each term. And this term it's Thames Center if anyone is interested.
Do we have any interest? Councillor Heeman?
I would like to put my name forward for consideration.
Anyone else? Okay.
I'll move that
A
motion.
motion. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert, seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Okay. Thank you. Carried. Next one, Sarah.
You can. So this would be the same item as the previous, except now we would be appointing a council representative if anyone is interested to the Kettle Creek Conservation Authority.
Councillor Heeman?
I would like to nominate Mayor McMillan for that position.
I will accept. Thank you. So, yeah. You're making that motion and, okay, and the seconder for the motion, Councillor Lockie, all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Sorry, because of the, I have a conflict of 13.3. I will, we'll go through the first two. 13.1. This is for a recommended motion that bylaw 772022 be given third and final reading, and that bylaws 94 2002 to 100 2002 be adopted as present, as presented, I'm sorry. So 13.1 bylaw 77 2022 be given third and final reading. And that bylaws 94 2022 and 97 2022 99 2022 and 100 2022 be adopted as presented.
Just to clarify, we're splitting them up because we have the one bylaw that you have a conflict with, and then the remaining two bylaws we're going to split and pull from the bylaws because they have to do with the fees and charges and then the water and wastewater. So we'll pass those ones after.
All right, then. So the ones that I've read, the ones that I've read, do I have a mover for that? Deputy Mayor Smybert, seconder. Councillor Heeman. All in favor? Okay, motion carried. And then we'll pass on to Deputy Mayor Smybert.
Thank you. So the next bylaw that the mayor has a pecuniary conflict with is bylaw number 95, 2022, being a bylaw with respect to the assumption and ownership of works in registered plan 33M 712 Byron Avenue subdivision. Can I get a mover, please, to give that 3 readings? Thank you, Councillor Lockie. And a seconder, Councillor Crockett. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
So then the third motion with respect to the bylaws would be for council to pass bylaw 96-2022 to provide for the various fees and charges in the municipality of Thames Centre. That bylaw 96-2022 be adopted as presented with the removal of 2 charges on Schedule E, specifically water and wastewater plant capacity. Oh, was it not?
I'll move that.
Second, third. Whoops, I gotta do it now too. Second. Deputy Mayor Smyber. All in favor? Motion carried.
So the last bylaw would be 98-2022 be deferred until after the special meeting be held on December 19th to discuss the proposal.
And do we have a mover for that motion? Deputy Mayor Smyber. Seconder. Councillor Lockie. All in favor? Motion carried. So the last item on the agenda is the meeting schedule. Monday, the next meeting will be Monday, December the 19th, 2022, beginning at 9 a.m. Special budget meeting here in the chambers. Then Monday, January the 16th,
Sorry, your worship. Then Monday, December 19th will be.
right, we'll have to add that in, sorry.
Through you, would we have to add a time for that for giving notice from the clerk's office? I'm not sure with budget deliberations if we could assess a time, but just in terms of giving notice.
Yeah, I was just looking at the clock here now. It's heading to 10 past 2 to 3, so that might work. Okay, so then we will amend that. And then the meeting after that, Monday, January the 16th, 2023 at 1 p.m., which will also include a closed meeting for training purposes for council. Then following that, Monday, January the 30th, 2023 at 5 p.m. here in the chambers. Okay, we need a motion to accept that, or are we good to go? No. All right. So at this point, I'm going to thank everybody for their presence here and call for a motion to adjourn. Nobody wants to do that. Councillor Lockie, seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.